Thank you for joining me this morning and welcome. Are you among the millions of baby boomers who worry about making a confident financial decision in retirement? Well, if you really stop and think about it, it can be a scary situation. This morning, my guest is Marc Freedman, who is the author of Retiring for Genius, Your Blueprint for Planning a Comfortable Retirement. Good morning, Marc, and welcome.
Good morning, and how are you, Barbara?
I'm great. I think the biggest question for someone, in my opinion, when they think about retiring, and I think about this, do I have enough money to continue the lifestyle that I've enjoyed without a job?
That is the biggest question that any retiree has to ask, because all of a sudden, when you approach retirement, you stop getting a paycheck.
No joke.
and what happens is it's up to you to figure out how to replace that paycheck. And perhaps Social Security will give you some income. Perhaps you might have a pension if you work for the state or for the local town. But for the most part, it's up to you. And what we've learned is that there are so many financial institutions out there that seem to think they have the solution for you. But in reality, the answer to your solution is so much larger than that. But it's not nearly as complicated as everyone leads it to believe. And that's why we wrote the book, Retiring for the Genius. It's written for those folks who are retiring, who, let's say you're over 55, over 60, where you intend to spend in retirement somewhere between $4,000 and $10,000 a month. And I think that encompasses an enormous number of people. Some suggest it's 22.5 million. These people are not considered millionaires for sure, but nor do they consider themselves part of the middle market. They're part of this upper middle market segment. I call them the mass affluent, and they are oversold and underserved. And this book, Retiring for the Genius, was written so that we can help them, giving them financial advice in a language they can understand.
Well, it is a simple, thought-provoking book, but one of the things you say is you have got to get a handle on what you actually spend, which means, and I tried this, trying to get your expenses for a month, but guess what? They change. Like my air conditioning broke. I wasn't planning on that.
That's right.
So how do you figure what might happen in?
So here's what we did. I built a recipe card because many people, as they approach retirement, they figure, what am I going to do when I don't have to go to work anymore? They begin to say, I'm going to pick up a hobby, and a lot of people pick up cooking. So what I did was I built a recipe card, the secret for finding out how much you spend each and every month. Generally, what happens is most retirees, or frankly most Americans, use one or two checkbooks to pay the vast majority of their bills. So what I suggest that you do is I suggest that you look at your most recent monthly statement. Look at the very top of the page or at the bottom of the page where they identify, here's how much money you spent every month. It says total deposits and total withdrawals, how much came in, how much came out. Now, of course, things are going to change. Expenses change each and every month. So what I want you to do is I want you to grab the last 12 months. Now, if you can't find the last 12 months, I mean, look, most people are hoarders when it comes to their financial statements,
Right.
So I'm sure those are around anyways. But if you feel so inclined, you can pick up the phone, call your bank, or go online, and you can pull up those last 12 months. So you add up the total withdrawals over the past 12 months. Add them up. They're going to be different. Like you said, Barbara, they're going to be different. The air conditioner breaks, the boiler breaks, you need to buy a car, whatever it might be. But you add up those 12 months. You divide that then by 12, and now you have an average. Chances are, on a plus or minus 10%, that's going to be the general amount of money that you spend on a monthly basis. If you don't believe that number, go back 2 years if you want. It's really not that hard. But you can come with a general consensus of what you're going to need on a monthly basis, and then you can begin to start to think, okay, how do I create enough income to support the expenses that I'll have in retirement?
That is pretty simple. Now, you have been a radio host of a show called Dollars and Cents. After that question, what would you say is the most concerning question?
The most concerning question is that people jump into trying to make financial decisions without understanding their whole financial situation first. So what happens is you're watching television or you're driving on the road and you see a radio, you hear a radio ad or you see a billboard or you see something on television or you have some broker that picks up the phone and calls you and they tell you a compelling story, a story that says we can solve your retirement issues, we can give you that guaranteed income you need, or we can put you in a situation where we can protect your retirement forever. And you say, sign me up. But you neglect to figure out whether the amount of money that the advisor needs from you is adequate based upon the amount of money that you have and what everything else is that you need. You see, we end up making investment decisions long before we take a look at what's called our net worth, everything we own and understanding everything we owe. You have to take that snapshot first. And frankly, any advisor who tries to suggest to you that you can make an investment or make smart decisions without asking about your entire financial situation first is probably doing you a disservice. After all, we hear this expression that says we need to place the interests of our clients first. And I would think that every person who works with a financial advisor or wants to make a financial decision feels that the person that they're working with is placing their interests first. My feeling is how can you do that? How can you do that if you don't know where everything is and what it's worth before you ever make a decision?
Okay, so we get all these numbers together, and in your book, Retiring for the Genius, how do you account for what might happen in healthcare? You don't know what's going to happen to your body or your spouse's body, and you don't know what the government is going to cover or not cover.
Great question, and it is a question that everybody worries about. There's a few things that we can control, and that means accumulating adequate resources to provide for health care costs. But I don't think it should bankrupt our ability to be able to live retirement to its fullest. Look, there are millions, hundreds of millions of people here in America. There are those that can't even afford a health care to start. Then there are those that can kind of afford health care, and then there's those that can afford it no matter the cost. I think what we have to take into consideration is that there is going to be some kind of a compromise that's going to make it work for everybody in America. The government is going to leave us out in the street. You're not going to be out there suffering looking for medication. We're going to make this work. It's going to have to work. I have a feeling one of the ways that it's going to work is there'll be a change to the Social Security system down the road so that we can afford Medicare, because more and more baby boomers, 10,000 people, are turning age 65 every single day. So I only suggest to people that you control what you can control, and that is live for today, knowing that you need to have money that will support your lifestyle down the road. But you can't be so fearful that you jeopardize or challenge or shortchange your retirement for today.
I want to thank you so much for being with me. Marc Freedman, you're always wonderful to talk to, and your new book, Retiring for the Genius, Your Blueprint for Planning a Comfortable Retirement, is a great guide for that. And this is Barbara Dooley for Georgia's Morning News with Zoller and Bryant.